Welcome back. I'm Pat, that Halloween movie collector. And recently, if you guys follow that horror movie podcast, make sure you do. We do a live horror podcast every Sunday night, 8 p.m. with my good buddies Joe and Brett. We've been doing a lot of rankings of the horror franchises. We did Halloween, we did Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, we did Child's Play, Chucky, and we just recently did Scream. Go check them out. We had a lot of fun with them, ranking them. So I got to thinking, I'm like, you know what? What are my top 5 favorite horror franchises? Because there's quite, when I did a little research, because I knew what I could probably pick as my top 5, but there's a lot of horror franchises. I'm old school, so it's going to be much of the ones that started in the late 70s or early 80s. But I said, you know what? Let's do a quick video of my top 5 horror franchises. So my number 5, there's 8 movies in the franchise from 1988 to 2019. Child's Play. Obviously, some of them turned over and just called them Chucky, Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky. But it's all part of the same franchise, the Child's Play franchise. Now, albeit when the first one came out in 88, it was very sinister. A doll that goes around and is possessed by this evil spirit of this killer. And some problems happened in the franchise that didn't turn me off, but just irritated me. It became more of a comedy. Same thing that really kind of happened with Nightmare on Elm Street, which of course you know is going to end up on this list, where they start out sinister, creepy, and scary, and then it just turns into a lot of one-liners and almost comedic. But still a fun franchise. A lot of great movies in there. A lot of memorable scenes, a lot of one-liners, and we've been talking about doing it on the podcast where we're going to do some Chucky one-liners versus Freddy one-liners, because there's not many horror franchise icons that really talk. You can't. Jason doesn't talk. Michael doesn't talk. So who's got the one-liners? Freddy and Chucky. So that probably be showing up on one of the episodes of that horror movie podcast. But for me, my number 5, I do like I like the movies. I'm probably more partial to the first 2, and I do like the remake. I thought the remake was entertaining. It was fun to hear. While we love Brad Dourif, great actor and great voiceover actor for Chucky, and I loved him as Sheriff Brackett in Rob Zombie's movies. I thought it was a cool little change to have Mark Hamill. I grew up in the 70s. Mark Hamill was Luke Skywalker. He was the voice of the Joker. That's why my son wanted to go. He's like, oh, I want to go hear the voice of the Joker. So I did enjoy it. So I thought it was fun. So for me, my number 5 horror franchise, Child's Play. My number 4, there's 6 movies in the franchise from 1996 to 2023. Scream. Now, Scream is probably one of the more flavorful, if that's a word I can think of, because what happens with Scream, you get a different killer in every movie. It's a whodunit. It's a horror franchise because it's a slasher movie because he kills with a knife. But what's cool about it is it's always a whodunit, because you need to figure out who the killer is, because it's always somebody different in every film. Somebody comes back. It's usually somebody from Sydney's past, obviously up until the last 2, because it did differ, especially the last one didn't have Neve Campbell in it. But they were all entertaining. There's a bit of comedy. For me, it was a big thing back in 96 when I first saw it, because of all the callbacks to Halloween. I mean, for Christ's sake, they were watching Halloween in the movie, which I did not know at the time. And I was like, wow, this is great. What an homage to Halloween, and what a fun concept. And it really reinvigorated the horror franchise, because the horror franchise was kind of dead. And Scream came along and really gave it a shot in the arm that it needed. And albeit you could say, well, this one wasn't so good, this wasn't so great, they were all pretty entertaining. We just did a ranking not that long ago on that horror movie podcast. That's the reason I thought about doing this. And you go back and watch them, they're entertaining. I found them entertaining, at least. The characters are very memorable. The acting was very good. A lot of good scores, some good music in them. And not necessarily one-liners, because, Ghostface does somewhat speak, but he really doesn't. Of course, because there's always multiple people who's Ghostface. There's different voices, so you really can't say one is the other, because it's just the way it's played. There's always a partner in crime. So that's why I would leave them off the one-liner list. I would leave Ghostface off the one-liner list. But that is, for me, number 4. Scream franchise. Number 3 for me, 9 movies in the franchise from 1984 to 2010. Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, obviously, there's one that's crossover in there, which is Freddy vs. Jason, which will obviously have to be on this list. And, of course, Friday the 13th, it still hasn't shown up, but you know it's coming. So there's a crossover with one movie. Now, this first time I saw Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, back in 84, was on VHS. We didn't see it in the theater, and we rented it. And it was groundbreaking. It was so creepy and scary because you did not have a killer. I mean, it was slasher movies. There was killers, but you never had somebody that killed you in your sleep. So it was really creative for the time. And we love Wes Craven because of just look at what he did. I mean, the other franchise on top of it was right there with Scream. While this franchise evolved much the same way Chucky did into slight comedy, whereas the first original movie was very sinister and very creepy and chilling and, like I said, groundbreaking for what it did at the time. And then it evolved into the one-liners and which, you know, some people like it. They think it's goofy, it's funny. And, of course, it's passable. I do like all the Nightmare movies. We did a ranking, like I said. For me, of course, the first 3 are still going to be the top 3. Even up to Freddy's New Nightmare, which was unbelievable because it was a great concept, bringing all the people back into reality. And it was just crazy where the people were in the film and being themselves, which I thought was very creative, and it's a great film. Now you could argue and shit all over the remake. A lot of people give Jackie Earle Haley a lot of hate for it but I like Jackie Earle Haley, good actor. Grew up with him in the Bad News Bears. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but hey, sometimes you can't fault the actor because the actor is basically just doing what's on the script. Blame the script. Don't necessarily always blame the actor because of what you're doing. It gets a lot of hate for that movie, and while I admit it, it doesn't hold a candle to the original, of course, and a little cringy at times. Give him a little bit of slack because it wasn't him in that movie. It was just the script itself. So that is my number 3, Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Number 2 in the franchise with 12 films from 1980 to 2009. Yes, Friday the 13th. I love me some Halloween, but I love Friday the 13th. Big fan. Love all the movies. Some more than others, of course, because we did do a ranking. But same thing. This was it wasn't groundbreaking. It was more hype and shock in 1980 because, of course, everybody wanted to capture lightning in a bottle. After John Carpenter's Halloween, everybody's like, oh shit, what could we do? Let's put it on a holiday. Let's put it in a summer camp. Let's do anything we can do on a limited budget to see if we can catch lightning in a bottle like Carpenter did. And while they did, in essence, they did, because look at the franchise it spawned. I mean, you got to remember the first movie, there was no Jason. Jason was dead. He didn't show up till the end of the movie. The killer was the mother. So the movie was necessarily a whodunit. Because through the whole movie, you're always seeing the point of view of the killer. Much like Halloween and obviously Black Christmas before it. And you're saying to yourself, well, who is this person? Because you don't know who this Jason person is. I mean, sure, you see those kids early on in like the 50s get killed. But then again, you still don't know who it is. So the whole movie, that's probably the little bit of the flaw because, you know, all of a sudden she just shows up at the end and you're like, the mother of this kid that was killed is a killer? So I guess it's plausible because of the way it was put out there. But a lot of people seem to have a problem with that. They're like, oh, that was it because all of a sudden she just shows up at the end and she's the killer. Well, yeah, I get it because they kept you wondering. They wanted to keep you guessing through the whole film. You had no idea it was a woman, first of all. Weren't too many woman killers in films like this. So that was a shocker. And to find out it basically was a mother avenging her son's death. So that's basically what it turned out to be. And now they did well. So, okay, like now where do we go? We have to figure something else out. Who's going to be the killer? Because she got beheaded, so obviously she can't come back. And this isn't a soap opera where they just put the head back on. Well, like, who do we bring into it? Let's bring the son. The son comes back to life, and he becomes the face of the franchise, and slays through many, many movies. Some very, very memorable. Some of my favorite films of all time. Some up until 2009. And the remake, I'm a big fan of the remake. I love the remake. I think the remake was very well done. There's very few remakes that I do like. And the remake of Friday the 13th, I do like it. Very effective, very menacing, and very brutal version of Jason. Fun characters. You know, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. My biggest gripe, like I've mentioned when we did our ranking, was I don't see Jason having a hostage. And he had a hostage in that, which is a little strange, but so be it. Every movie's going to have a flaw. It's not going to be perfect. Like Halloween? Well, whatever. But number 2, easily, Friday the 13th. Love it. Looking forward to Crystal Lake Memories. I'm hoping they can put their shit behind them and start making some films, because you figure 2009, so here it is. 14 years later, we still haven't had a film. So we're in a drought. Everybody else is done something. So, and we're long overdue for a Freddy movie too. So hopefully it'll come back, because that is my number 2 horror franchise. And of course, my number 1 horror franchise is going to be no mystery, because of it's basically all over the screen right now. So you know it's going to be Halloween. Yes, Halloween is my favorite horror franchise. Halloween is my favorite movie. 13 films in the franchise from 1978 to last year's Halloween Ends in 2022 is very convoluted. There's so many different offshoots, different timelines, retcons, up into a movie that doesn't even have Myers in it, which is Season of the Witch, which is one of my favorites either way. Up until Ends, where Myers is in it for like 10 minutes, and it's all about another person who is possessed, basically, or gets possessed by the spirit, so to speak, of Michael Myers. So yeah, it's not a perfect franchise, and I'll never say it is, as much as I love it. It's very convoluted. It's got all different shit going on in it, from like I said, to Halloween 3, which has no Myers in it, but it's one of my favorites. I love the whole storyline of it. Its biggest flaw is that it's got Halloween 3 in front of it. To Halloween 5, which is just a head scratcher, like what the fuck were they thinking? To basically retconning several timelines. You know, you go to H2O. 20 years later, where it picks up from Halloween 2, but it's negated 4, 5, and 6. And then you go to, obviously, 3, which is totally different. It negates Halloween 1 and 2. And then you start the David Gordon Green. I don't know why I always have a fucking hard time saying that. David Gordon Green trilogy, which retcons the Halloween 2 and everything that came after that. So there's no brother-sister arc. There's no Jamie Lloyd. There's no Curse of Thorn, thankfully. Shout out to those people that like the Curse of Thorn trilogy. I like those movies. I'm not trying to shit on them, but I like the original storyline without that more than anything. I had no problem with the sister arc. I could have dealt with that, but the whole Thorn thing was... But I have nostalgia for them. I love the movies. Either way, they're still comfort food for me. So now we're left wondering where it's going to go from here. Now, I know there's a bunch of rumors that were going around that Malik Akkad might make some type of announcement at age 45. Anybody watching this going out to age 45, look me up. I'll be out at age 45. Me and my 2 cohorts in that horror movie podcast, we're going to be out there. A lot of people that we connect with on several different podcasts and in the groups, the Halloween group that I have. There's going to be a lot of us out there. So if you see us out there and you're going, if you're watching this video, make sure you come up and say, hang out. We're going to all have a bunch of beers, have a great time, visit all the sites, and really looking forward to age 45. Can't wait. And I can't believe here we are. I'm recording this as of August 1st. We're 2 months away. It seemed like such a long way away, and it's 2 months, and here it is. It's going to be here before we know it. So if you're going age 45, make sure you hit us up. Be a lot of fun. It's always fun to meet not only just Halloween fans, but horror fans in general, because let's face it, we're the best. Horror fans are the best. Some of my best friends I've met through conventions and just doing this in horror and Halloween. So don't be shy. But obviously, this was a no-brainer. Of course, you guys all knew I was going to pick Halloween as number one. And of course, there's other franchises I do like. I could have easily did 10 here. I do like the Conjuring franchise. I do love the Chainsaw Massacre. I kind of for it because I'm a bigger fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise than Chucky, but I just went with Chucky more for the fluidity because the Chainsaw Massacre, while Halloween is convoluted, that's a real convoluted timeline. It's all over the freaking place, right up to, even up to the last one they did on Netflix. It's very convoluted, but I do love the Chainsaw Massacre franchise. And there's a couple others like Jaws. There's Hellraiser, which I'm not a big Pinhead guy, but yeah, there's a lot more I could have picked. But these are the top five they're my go-tos. So do me a favor, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what are your top five. Maybe they're different. Maybe you're a big Scream guy and Scream is number one. Maybe you're Nightmare on Elm Street guys. I know plenty of guys that'll put the Elm Street franchise above Halloween, and that's cool. It's all subjective. I'm not going to argue that. It's what you like. Maybe you put Pinhead at the top, or you put Chainsaw Massacre at the top, and I didn't even have them on the top 5 list. They would have been, if I had done the top 10, they would have been in there. But let me know. I always answer everything. I'm always curious to hear. I appreciate hit that like button. Helps people find this channel. If you haven't checked out the channel before, there's a lot of shit on here. There's horror shit, there's music shit, there's podcast shit, there's watch-alongs. We do watch-alongs. There's a lot of shit. So the more you look around the channel, you'll step in a lot of shit. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost nothing. Help a brother out. If you're a podcaster, let us know. We're always a sub for a sub. And that's how I seem to find, that's how I found most of the great friends I have, just from subbing to their channels, and they sub to this channel. And we're all one big giant horror community. Because let's face it, YouTube's the way to go these days. This is where I watch most of most of videos and just enjoy myself, because let's face it, fucking TV blows. It sucks. It sucks ass. So YouTube, all you podcasters out there, keep up the good work. I'll try to keep up the good work. Hope you guys like it. Like I said, do me a favor, come back, check everything out, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. Come see us live every Sunday night, 8 p.m. for the Horror Movie Podcast. Every Monday night, that live movie watch-along, we watch a movie. And there's always a bunch of shit going on here. And that's basically it until do another video, probably in a week or so. Another live video. Talk to you soon.